Hey everybody, got another video here for you. Okay, let's build a guitar. So the first thing you want to do is take your neck and you want to check your truss rod and your nut, make sure they're both in good shape. And there's a how-to to do that video in the how-tos, tips, and tricks playlist. I'll leave a link. So once you've checked out, made sure that your truss rod's good, stuff like that, then the next step is to put on the tuners. And once again, I already posted the how-to video on that. It's a very basic operation, but every build needs it. It's a small but vital step in any build. And so, yeah, if you want, you can go check that out and go ahead and put your tuners in. And at that point, the only thing left is the truss rod cover, which you don't want to put on until you've done your final adjustments on the truss rod, and installing the neck itself, and we can wait until it's time to bolt it on in order to drill this. So that you do those things, and that'll take care of your neck for the moment. And then the next thing you want to do is get started on your body. And so you'll need to take some measurements of the neck in order to figure out where your saddle line is. And I've already posted the video on how to measure your neck, and I'll leave a link. And then once you've got your measurements, that then allows you to lay out your body blank. And this is the result. It's kind of hard to see, but you've got a neck pocket area here, and then it comes down. This is where the pickups go. The bridge pickup goes right there. The bridge goes right here. And the jack plate will go back here. And then these are the two leg bars up at the top. And this excess area cut off will be used to make the bar extensions and a block for the bridge. And I'm hoping that I can get it all out of this one piece of wood. So once you've got your dimensions off of your neck, you go ahead and mark out your body. And once again, I've already posted the how-to video on marking out a body blank, so you can go check that out, and I'll leave a link. And once you've done all that, that'll bring you to where you see the build at right now, which is with a neck that's pretty much ready to bolt on, and a body blank that's all marked out and ready for cutting. And so the next step is I'm going to go cut this thing. I'll use the mini table saw in order to cut these two, and like cut off the end of it here. Well, maybe I'll use the jigsaw in order to save more wood. Yeah, so maybe I'll just hack these two bars off and then cut the rest out with the jigsaw. Okay, bars have been cut off, but instead of the 100 millimeter wide blank that was expected, I've ended up with something that's only 96 millimeters because I didn't take into account the thickness of the blade. But that's not a big deal. I just moved everything 2 millimeters over this direction, and now I'm ready to cut it out with the jigsaw. And it's still going to be plenty wide enough for the pickup, which is the widest part on the guitar. And there it is, all cut out, one body blank. This is your heel area, and you'll slap the neck on, trace it out, and then shape it. And everything looks pretty good. It's going to need a little shaping like there and there. And yeah, so that's the basic idea. Okay, time to mark out this heel. You want to set your two parts down so that the heel of the neck is laying flat on the heel area of the body. And then just take your pencil and put the end of the neck right at the end of the heel area. Get it all nice and straight. and then just come in like this best you can and mark it with the pencil. You'll only really be able to kind of get the corners. You can't really get under the middle. And just kind of go like that. And hopefully you should come up with something approximating a heel shape. And kind of, as usual, connect the dots. And yeah, so that's what you're going to use in order to shape your heel. And then let me get the neck plate. So then you want to get your neck plate and you want to position it at the bottom of the heel so it looks good, like that. And then you want to mark out around it and mark the holes. Or at the very least, you need to, it's probably a good idea to, really all you need is just measure how far it is from the bottom of the neck up to wherever it looks good. Let's go for 5 millimeters. So while you got it in position, you might want to trace around it, or this thing's out of lead, or trace around the holes. This kind of an idea. What you want is that 5 millimeter dimension so that you can transfer it to the body. Yeah, so now I've got an idea where the neck plate's going to be on the neck. And I can just use that to go ahead and drill the neck part of these neck bolt holes. So then I come over to the body, and now I know I'm going to go 5 millimeters up from the heel line. So I measure off 5 millimeters like that, get it all nice and straight. And that's where my plate's going to go on the neck. Right about there. On the body, sorry. Already marked out the neck. And once again, I can use these marks right here in order to go ahead and drill the body side of these holes. There we go, I got one neck plate. So now I know where my neck plate's going, what my heel shape is. From here I can get the general idea where the neck plate holes are going to be on the other side, so I can use a lot of this for taper. This can have a very nice shallow kind of taper from here on the neck. Yeah, see, I'll be tapering from like right past the plate all the way down to there. Fair amount of taper there. So yeah, fair amount of room to work with for the taper. If you want to do a super smooth taper, it'd probably be something kind of like connect the dots. Everything is connect the dots. It's just kind of something like that. Can't draw straight, but everything is connect the dots. So we'll connect the dots if the pencil will cooperate. Kind of hard to see what's going on. I put so many lines on it. So let's see, this is going to be the front. So the back plate's about here and about here. So taper's going to be about like that. Fair amount of taper. And then the plate goes like right back here. Plate, taper, and heel. Just about like that. So yeah, it'll have pretty good taper. It won't really get fat until you're, let's see, 24, 23, 22, 21, 29, until the 18th fret. You don't get the full heel width thickness. So that's not bad. So now the basic idea is I have to use a tool in order to remove this material and this material. And I'd probably start with this thing and do a cut like there and a cut like there. Then after that, I'd probably have at it with the microplane, or I might use like the mini angle grinder. Could be another option. This kind of thing. But if you don't have like all that kind of stuff, you could use a chisel, knock it down this way, and cut these bits off with a saw, and then have at it with a rasp or file, or even 60 grit on a sanding stick or block. So yeah, time to shape a heel, I think. Okay, which way does this go? I copied the, you can barely see this stuff. There it is. All right, so I copied the lines and stuff from the front to the back so that you can better see what's going on. I decided to only go 40 millimeters for the tapering area in order to leave some space at the back. Everything will be all nice and even looking. And yeah, so the taper will come down like that and around like this and up like that, and leaves these two corners. And I'm going to start with these two corners and this thing. So I think that's going to do it for power shaping the heel, power sanding, or shaping it by whatever means. And the rest will come out and when the whole rest of the body gets sanded. And it turned out okay. It's not perfectly symmetric, but then again, nobody's going to be looking at it from that side. That's all going to be covered by the neck. So, yeah, government, good enough for government work, as they say. It's sufficiently round and smooth for a good handshake. So, I mean, it's going to have a neck plate anyway, so not much you can do about the handshake with respect to that. But as far as this part back here goes, it's a nice smooth transition. So there's just one more little bit of shaping here where the saw cuts didn't quite come together, so to speak. Yeah, so just knock these two things down. And once again, you could be using a file or a rasp or a sanding stick or a quarter sheet sander or a variety of different tools to knock that down. I'm going to be using the mini grinder once again. So it's time to drill some neck holes. And the battle plan is to punch out here and here, and then measure the screws to figure out what size drill bits to use. And then use a larger drill bit on the body so that you got some wiggle room. And then a smaller drill bit on the neck in order to have some wood for the threads to grab onto. And then you're going to measure the screw length and take into account the body thickness and the plate thickness and such in order to figure out how deep to drill these. The body screw holes will go all the way through, and for best results I would recommend a pilot hole and then drilling from both sides, which is what I'm going to do. So start out with the puncher marks here. So now it's time to measure the screws. What you want to do, you need to know the diameter with the threads. You need to know the diameter of the middle part without the threads, and you need to know how long it is. So you take the little pointy part here at the end and stick it in like that, and that'll get you a pretty good estimate of the size of the center part of the screw. And I'm coming up with 4.1 for this. So I probably want to use a 4mm for the neck. So I'll make a note of that. Because the center of it is just a smidge over 4mm in diameter. And I don't want to measure it with the threads, so I go over the thicker part of the caliper here. And yeah, I come up with 4.71. So I want something at least 4.71 in size. So try 5. And if necessary, I can always ream that out to a 6 for wiggle room. Or more wiggle room. 4.71 to 5 will give me a smidge of wiggle room to start with, which should be good. So the body's going to get 5mm holes, and the neck is going to get 4mm holes. And now I need a length here. So if I take it and I put it this way, then you measure right down to where it starts getting tapered at the tip is 40mm right there. So it looks like overall I'm going to want 40mm worth of hole between the two of these. And this body should be 20 of that 40. And yeah, it is pretty much 19 and a half, something like that. So that's 20 of the 40, which means I need another 20 deep here. And you just check to make sure the heel's thick enough, which I'm sure it will be. And 20 put me, yeah, 20 will put me right to the bottom of the fretboard. So that all works out perfect. So I want to drill all the way through this with 5 millimeter, and I want to drill 20 millimeters deep. Go 19 at 4 millimeters diameter. And I want to do pilot holes and drill from both sides on the body. So the next set of holes to drill are the holes on the back for the inserts. Here on either side of the saddle line, I took the saddle line on the front and I copied it over to the back. And these are spaced 40 millimeters apart, so 20 millimeters on either side of the saddle line. And then they're 10 millimeters in from the edge. So that you're not so close to the edge that you get into issues. And so that's where I'm going to put the inserts. And the ones I'm using, it turns out to be a 9 millimeter, and you want to put them in 10 millimeters deep. And of course, the first step is to punch them. And then set up drill press. Okay, at this point, there's only 2 holes left to drill. You need to drill a hole for the jack, because jack plate's going to go there. And so you need a hole for the jack to go down into. And then over here where the bridge pickup goes, you're going to need a hole for the wire to go down through the body so it can come out the back. I didn't want it to require any routing or router or any of that. So that means instead of internally routed channels and 1 millimeter back plates, you do the older style where all the wires run externally on the guitar and they're held down with little brass pins if necessary. So that's the approach this is going to take in order to not have to do accurate drilling and stuff for the jack. It's just going to be probably a Forstner bit, and just go all the way through from both sides. And then the plate goes on top, the jack will be down in the hole, it'll be open on the back, the wire will come out somewhere around here from the pickup, this is on the back side of the guitar, and then it'll just run across the hole and then go down in there. And the idea is you cut it off at an appropriate length and take the jack out, wire it up to the pickup wire, and then just pop the jack back in. And so all you'll have is the pickup wire running from like here to there. And if you're lucky, it'll be tight enough that it doesn't even need a pin or anything. And since it's the actual lead coming off the pickup, it's already going to be all grounded and shielded, so you don't need a cavity or paint or copper tape or none of that stuff, and it won't hum. So anyway, that's the plan. Right now, I'm still waiting for the jack with the plate and screws included to arrive, the rectangular jack plate. And so I want to wait until that gets here in order to lay this out and drill this hole. And for the pickup hole for the wire, I want to wait until I do the test assembly and get the bridge on there and the pickup location figured out. So yeah, it'll be a day until the jack and plate gets here. So until then, I'm on hold for this. So that's probably a good place to stop this episode. See you all later. Well, I think that's going to do it for this video. So until the next one, everybody, have a good one.